Trump of the tropics. And Bolsonaro wants to come back to be president. He wants to run against you. His own party chairman said that he was rooting for Trump because that would help put things in order here, consolidating the right in the largest Western democracy. So do you think Trump is going to be good for you and your vision of the people, or will it help bring Bolsonaro back? Lay the groundwork for that.
Well, Bolsonaro was president, and I defeated him. If he was supporting Trump, there was no votes. He has no votes in the U.S., and he couldn't win the elections through that. Sincerely, Mapuda, I have the following news to the world. I've been following the discussions in the U.S., I've been following the debates on television, and I believe that each candidate established a strategy to win the elections. And I want to say very clearly to the American people that I want to have with President Trump a respectful relationship as the head of state of Brazil. And I hope that he will have the same relationship as the head of the state of the U.S. So if we manage to establish this line of behavior of civility, of respect, the rest becomes easier. And when I took over Maputo, I visited Bush in 2002. I haven't been inaugurated yet. And on that occasion, Bush invited me to participate in the Iraq War. And I told the President Bush, I cannot participate in the Iraq War because there's no chemical weapons there. Because I don't talk Saddam Hussein. And thirdly, because Iraq is 14,000 kilometers from Brazil. And then I have a war to wage in Brazil is to fight against hunger and poverty. And we managed to end with hunger in Brazil. And in the previous administration, the hunger went back. When I took office, now 33 million people were starving, and we already lifted 22.5 million people from hunger, and we'll lift all the other 10 million left to the end of my term in 2026.
I think you'll probably find if Trump sticks to what he says, he doesn't really want to start foreign wars. But I want to ask you about the stakes in Europe with Russia's war and its illegal invasion of Ukraine. You have decided not to help Ukraine with weapons. President Zelensky has said, unfortunately, I think Brazil is taking Russia's side. And he basically says the peace plan, the so-called peace plan that you say you've come up with China, shows a lack of respect to Kyiv's population and its position. How could you come up with a peace plan if you don't even consult the actual president and the people of Ukraine? What is your answer to that?
Well, first of all, time will be the master of reason. Let's see who's right. If it's Brazil's position that we're preaching for peace, because we were one of the very first countries to criticize Russia. And we said to Russia that it was not correct, the occupation of the Ukraine country or any other country. We criticized harshly Russia, and we said that we didn't want to participate in this war because we are the people of peace. Brazil is a country that has no litigation with any country whatsoever in the world, and we don't want to have any litigation with any country. When they came to say to Brazil that we should send weapons to Zelensky, I said, no, I do not want no one in Russia, neither in Ukraine, that will be dead by Brazilian bullets. We want peace. When the two presidents come to their reason and want to talk about peace, Brazil will be willing to discuss with the two countries for them to go back to peace and for the tranquility of the Ukrainian and Russian people. And that's why we made a proposal together with China of 6 points. And these points can only be talked effectively with the two presidents. And we have already participated in many meetings. I have already met with Zelensky in New York City. I have talked with Putin by phone. And so for the meanwhile, both don't want to talk about peace. When one of them, or both of them want, I'm willing to participate if they want to discuss peace, to discuss any kind of peace. And I'm very happy when you say that if you rely on the Trump's discourse, he's going to end with this war. I think it's important. I think it's important to end with the war because we need peace. The world needs peace. And to live in peace, and peace to grow economically. And we need peace so that we can improve the quality of lives of the human beings, that are being disposable around the world. That's why I'm appalled that I am in a campaign of outrages around the leaders of the world. It's necessary that we should have the capability to become outraged with the millions and millions of human beings that are forgotten by the governments of the planet and even in Brazil. And I say every day, we need to stop to look as if they were invisible, the poor in the world. No, they're human beings in the US and Brazil, in all African countries, in Latin America, and in Russia, and in Ukraine, and China. And so we have to deal with great respect, treat with respect these human beings that had no opportunity in life.
And now, on another issue, there's been some good news for your country. Deforestation in the rainforest is at its lowest level since 2015, and you are getting credit for that. You pledged to end deforestation by 2030. Are you on target?
Well, I do have a commitment on my board that no one asked me to take this commitment. I'm the one that took this commitment to announce that till the 2030, we would end with the deforestation in the Amazon rainforest. This is my commitment. And the same way, Amapur, that I could say to you that Brazil is experiencing a very interesting moment, because when we're talking about discussing the climate change and the energy issue, Brazil has to be undefeatable in producing wind power, solar power, biomass power, biofuels, hydrogen, green hydrogen. Brazil has an extraordinary energy potential, and we want to take advantage of and take this opportunity so that Brazil, amongst many things, we could have a low carbon agriculture output. You know that Brazil has 90% of its energy matrix is clean energy source. And so we have 50% of the total energy matrix is clean, when the rest of the world has only 15%. So on the climate aspect and on the energy transition, Brazil will make things happen. And that's why my commitment with the deforestation in the Amazon rainforest. And I hope that the rich countries, give the contribution with money that they have to contribute, because to keep the forest standing costs a lot of money. And because under each tree, there's an indigenous people that lives, there's a fisherman, there's a peasant, and we need to take care of the people that live in the forest. They are human beings and they need to live. They need to have their livelihood. So it's important that people that deforested in their countries, that have industrialized 200 years ago, now they should take the commitment to pay for those countries that still have forests standing to preserve their forests. Because I will not be taking only care of the Amazon rainforest, I'll be taking care of the planet Earth. That is the interest of the US, that is the interest of China, that is the interest of Russia, Mexico, and it's the interest of Chile. So that's why people have to have the awareness that to keep the forest standing in the Amazon, in the Americas, in Congo, and Indonesia, there's a price to pay for that. And people have to pay for that price, and this is what we want to do, so that carbon credit will really start working to help those countries to keep their forests standing. Well, I believe that President Trump, he has to think as an inhabitant of the planet Earth. And if he thinks as the ruler of the most important, richest country in the world, most important, has the more technology, and that is better prepared from the arms viewpoint, he has to have the notion that the U.S. is in the same planet that I am, and that an island of 300,000 inhabitants is. And so all of us, we have to take responsibility for the maintenance of this planet, of the Earth. We need to guarantee that the planet should not suffer a warming of more above than 1.6 degrees. We need to guarantee that the rivers should continue healthily with clean waters. And so we need to guarantee that the biomes of all the countries should be preserved. And so this is a commitment that I have, not only as the president of Brazil, as a human being that lives in the planet called Earth, and that there's no other place to live, only Earth.
I want to ask you about Elon Musk, who's a very good friend of Donald Trump and who spent millions of his own money helping to elect Donald Trump. You and your Supreme Court had a major standoff over what you accused him of basically having accounts that were damaging Brazil's democracy. Finally, Elon Musk complied. But are you concerned that he might try again to bring these accounts up, particularly backed by his friend, the leader of the world's only superpower to be, that would be Donald Trump?
Well, the only thing that we want is that this businessman should treat the countries with respect and not use fake news to inform the people, either the U.S. people or the Brazilian people. It's very important for us to take into account that we need to go back to the civility and humanism between human beings. I can't imagine to instill hatred. We should not continue to raise controversy when we could stimulate peace. We could do other, stimulate humanism and other facilities and solidarity. It's an option for life that we have taken, that the human being should go back to being human, humanistic, that people should respect each other. No one is obliged to love or enjoy anybody. What we need is to enjoy the people as they are, treat them with the respect that they deserve, and they also have to treat the others with respect. Now, if we go back to civility and to live under a system that everybody has their rights, and the right of one ends when the right of the other starts, then we'll have a much better world, a world with more fairness, a much humanitarian world, and a world that will be socially more fairer for the people that live on the planet. This is what I want for Brazil, and this is what I want for the U.S., and this is what I want for Bolivia, Chile, for Argentina. This is what I want for China, and for all the countries. That is to say, what is not correct is for us to see a country, a strong state like Israel, to end with the people that live in the Gaza Strip, where thousands of women, more than 40,000 women and children were murdered in a war that is unfair. And we condemn Hamas when they committed those crimes. But at the same time, we condemn Israel against this vengeance that is inhumane against the Gaza Strip. Unfortunately, the UN is weakened, and they cannot make decisions, and people do not abide to the UN decisions. So it's important for us to go back to value the UN, and that we should change the UN components. We can't continue with 1945 UN Charter. We have to include other countries in the UN Security Council so that we have a much more representative UN. And when it makes a decision,